Namo Amida Butsu. So for today's Dharma talk, I want to share some initial ideas on a larger thing that I'm working on, which will probably end up becoming a book. And the title of today's Dharma talk is just a section of this thing I'm working on. It's called Gratitude and Grace. So I'd like to start this Dharma talk with a quote from some of the earliest known teachings of the Buddha from the Pali Canon. And in this teaching, the Buddha is instructing all of us to, quote, train yourselves thus. We will be grateful and thankful, and we will not overlook even the least favor done to us. Thus should you train yourselves. And I read this and I started to think, well, how's my training going? And I realized it actually is not doing so well. So our path is this path. We come out of a Pure Land tradition. We are inspired by a Pure Land tradition, even though we are non or trans-sectarian. We're still inspired of that, and that's part of our heritage. And that heritage or that tradition is called the path of gratitude. So our path is this path, what we call the way of oneness, or even the Nembutsu path. It is the path of gratitude. It is the training and cultivation of awareness of the boundless grace that we receive every day that can give way to a boundless appreciative humility and to awe. This boundless gratitude can awaken in us great compassion, and we can perceive the reality of the oneness of all life. This is the path that we step on when we decide to follow the Buddha in the path of the Nembutsu. We begin our training in awareness to not overlook even the least favor done to us. This is our cultivation of gratitude and our awareness of boundless grace. Now, what I'm talking about here is not just general gratefulness. I'm talking about something even more. It's not the, oh gee, thank you for the cup of coffee kind of gratitude, or the kind of gratitude you feel when you win the lottery, or just miss getting into an accident. But what I'm talking about is more subtle, and also more transformative. It's the kind of gratitude that's at the very ground of your being, that changes how you engage with life. This is the kind of gratitude we express when we recite in the Sangha every Sunday, thank you, cruel adversity. It's that type of gratitude. This deeper and transformative kind of gratitude is far more difficult. Some days, simply impossible. And the lack of the ability to feel this kind of gratitude is even more profound because it hinders our ability to awaken. Now, maybe that's why the Buddha encouraged us to train ourselves, to be able to experience this kind of gratitude. It takes a form of intention. So what are some of the obstacles we face when trying to cultivate gratitude? What keeps us from experiencing this deep sense of gratitude? Well, first of all, gratitude is simply born of awareness. If we are having a hard time feeling grateful, especially in challenging times, the problem is not so much with our lives as it is with what we are paying attention to. We all easily get caught up in the thickets of should-bes, could-bes, oughta-bes, and why-mes. Greg Kretsch, an American expert on icon reflection, writes, when I narrow my vision to search for an ideal that my mind has created, life seldom complies. And I want to even limit that to even not just an ideal, but whatever I want it to be. Anytime when I'm arguing with the reality of what is, I am doing this. And life will not comply with what I want it to be. This happens all the time, even in the littlest things. Any disappointment, no matter how small, has its root in us searching for some ideal. Something as simple as getting mad when driving is the same fruitless search for an ideal of how traffic should flow, how other drivers should drive. And we forget, and we get disappointed. And how much more is that true with the big things of life if we do this on such a mundane, simple little thing? Seijaku Roshi of the Pinewood Zen community translates dukkha as disappointment. So most traditions, especially American Buddhist traditions, say dukkha is suffering. Well, dukkha is a lot more subtle than just suffering. And I like the way he translated it. He translated life is suffering to life is disappointing. And I think all of us can go, yep, because we've all been there numerous times. Okay? So, kind of what we're talking about is that source of disappointment, that seeking for an ideal, wanting to create the world in the way we want it to be. From life is suffering, we get life is disappointing. And I would say disappointment is suffering. Disappointment keeps us from seeing the things as they are because we are too busy trying to make the world into what we want it to be. We are too busy trying to control life and project onto it what we want life to be. Safe, secure, controllable, a predictable universe. Now, we all know better on an intellectual level, and still our vision is myopic. And we walk around half-blinded, groping through the darkness of our own making, failing to see what is offered to us every single day. Awareness practice is, as Greg Kretsch says, broadening our vision so we can start to see what life is actually offering us. When we start to see things as they are, and in so doing, we start to see how much we're supported on all things, he teaches, we start to see the boundless gifts of all of life. The problem is that we rarely practice this kind of awareness, or our awareness practice gets bogged down in habitual thought patterns. But when I broaden my vision, he says, to simply know what life is offering, I find that I am surrounded by abundance of care and support. Yet we can repeatedly observe the mechanics of a mind that is rarely satisfied with what is at the moment, because it's always yearning for some manufactured ideal. We can witness with eyes that scan reality for what they want. Such awareness is the first step in retraining ourselves to truly open to the gifts the universe is offering us. End quote. So I'll be at work or I'll be around and somebody goes, so how's your day going? I go, it couldn't be better. And they go, well, yeah, good. And I say, well, no, I can't. They say, no, yeah, good. Yeah, no, I can't. And they said, it literally cannot be any different than it is right now. This is reality. Everything else is a fiction. Everything else is a story projected on the present moment. It can't be better. It can't be any different than what it is. But that's how we think habitually. We want to change reality from what it is. If we see the world as sacred, which is an expression of the spiritual life, then gratitude falls immediately and naturally. we've been given the extraordinary privilege of incarnating as human beings. And of course, the human incarnation entails 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows, as it says in the Tao Te Ching. But with it, we have the privilege of the lavender color at sunset, the taste of a tangerine in our mouth, and the almost unbearable beauty of life around us. Along with its troubles, it keeps recreating itself. Jack Kornkrop. Another obstacle in our being more grateful is not just our awareness, but it's a subtle one. And let me share a story with you, something that happened to me. It was a few years ago. I was participating in a Nikon retreat. Now, Nikon is a form of Japanese psychology. It's about self-reflection and gratitude. And it revolves around three questions. What have I been given? What have I given in return? And what problems have I caused? That's it. And it's really about deep reflection. So I was participating in a one-day Nikon retreat that they were holding at the local Buddhist Churches of America temple downtown. And I started to reflect, and I started to think, and I was writing down, and it was interesting. Whoever I was reflecting on, and it was rather subtle and almost insidious, I started to realize, oh, they gave me this, they gave me that, oh, how wonderful, they gave me this. But. What does but mean usually when you put it in a sentence? Disregard everything before, because that's not the important part. But I did this. But I did that. But they have to, because they're a mother or the father. Okay? That makes sense? So I was trying to be grateful. And in Nikon, you're not allowed to think of any causes and conditions. You're just supposed to list everything you've received in your life, period. And I realized at that moment that it was hard for me to receive anything and feel grateful because I was earning everything. I was earning everything. I was becoming aware that I did not see all of these things as gifts, but as economic exchanges, as quid pro quo. I earned them, or because it was how the world was supposed to work that I received this gift. In Nikon reflection, you are only to acknowledge what was given, not the dynamics of exchange or the motivation. So from that experience, I started reflecting on why it was hard for me specifically to really feel this profound, transformative gratitude. It was because I was stuck in the mire of my own should-have-beens and should-be's. Like the mother I deserved, or the marriage I was cheated out of, or the bad health I have even though I've worked so hard to be healthy, or getting trapped in the idea of a magic formula. If I just do A and B, and I will get C, then I will be happy, and then I will be grateful. When our ideal is unmet, we deal with all kinds of degrees of disappointment and get stuck in our own victimization. I agree with what Daniel Feld has written, and he's a Kabbalah writer. He says, with each additional thing we expected but did not receive, we feel that we are victims who never get what we rightly deserve. Needless to say, one cannot be happy when one is feeling like a victim. Feelings of victimhood comes with sadness, heaviness, and can act as excuses for hurtful actions. That's something to think about when someone is reaching out, maybe hurting you, or someone is hurtful in a community, that the source can go back to this sense of victimization. During the Nikon retreat, once I let go of what I felt I was entitled to, what I thought I deserved or didn't deserve, I noticed that subtle and deep gratitude starting to well up inside of me. It was really like crazy. Now, before anyone gets triggered, you deserve to be loved just as you are. That's what Amida Buddha represents at its core. But it's also important to know that the archetype of Amida doesn't love you because you're good. You don't deserve love because you are good. But in the Pure Land tradition of Shinran, you deserve love in spite of any good that you can do or bad that you can do. It's just irrelevant. You are loved simply by existing. And from this perspective, everything, all things are loved. It's nothing you can earn. It's nothing you're entitled to. It is the natural, inherent grace that's at the center of existence. He goes on to say, the entitled person is one ungrateful for what they do have. They feel whatever they have they deserved, and that they should have got even more. For the entitled person, nothing is never enough. An ungrateful person cannot be a happy person. They do not see who is providing them with what they have. When they do receive what they expect, they do not feel grateful. They deserve it. It's crazy. That's what I was going through. That's what I was realizing about myself in that Nikon reflection. I mean, it was that one of those moments, holy shit, that's me. You know? And I think it's rather funny because the people that drive me the batshit crazy are the ones who are super entitled. You know what I mean? The ones that cut in line, or the ones who think are, no, more important than you, I'm hoity-toity. Drives me crazy. But on a very real level, I was similar to that. We are more like that than we want to admit, especially coming from the abundance of this country. What we consider poor is upper middle class in so many places. It's all a matter of perspective. Now, I mean, I'm different. I'm different than that guy who cuts the line. I'm not that much of an asshole. Okay? But I am. I am if I think about the larger, bigger picture of things. Especially when it comes to feeling a deep, profound gratitude for the countless gifts I receive every day. I feel entitled to. I take for granted every day that this entitlement can cut me off from a deeper and more transformative gratitude. For so long, we've wandered in a sense of lack, and so long I've wandered in a sense of my own martyrdom. How many have felt like martyrs in your life, or have even been proud of being a martyr in your life as part of your identity? Well, I'm telling you right now, martyrdom is just a fancy poetic word for victimization. Being caught up in our ego projections of constantly being disappointed, trapped in a subtle, pernicious entitlement, which is a prison, which keeps us from being happy. Now, I want to focus on a line from what Feld said. He says, they do not see who is providing them with what they have. Now, back to our awareness practice and the admonition of the Buddha. The Buddha told us to train ourselves to notice even the smallest favor done for us. This training begins with an honest self-assessment of our dependence on everything, on everyone else's support that makes our lives possible. Our struggle to go it alone, to earn our keep, to earn love, it's exhausting and rarely fruitful. The first thing that wakes us up to gratitude is to surrender and open ourselves to the realization that on an absolute transcendent level, there is no such thing as deserve or not deserve. As Haldor Almond writes, life is a struggle. It's a mess. And accepting that you really don't deserve anything will help you appreciate and be grateful for everything you've been given. Now, I know this may sound a little dark, and I'm going to talk more about this idea in a later Dharma talk. But I want to challenge you to reflect on it, because as you go deeper into it, it opens a vista of gratitude and unlocks the prison door of ego and this continual calculation. The next thing you can do to cultivate deeper gratitude is to reflect on all of our accomplishments. All the things that we think are our good deeds, our successes, and to really look at them. To really look at everything. One of the first things we're going to notice is everything is relational. Nothing is in isolation. When we really look, when we really do, in the words of Jeff Wilson, a Jodo Shin minister, we'll find that, quote, accomplishments we counted as our own successes turn out to be due to the myriad of benefits received from others. And I love this. Pulling on our bootstraps, we discovered that someone else made the boots and the straps and fed and nurtured us until we were ready to pull. Our own efforts are imperfect. Cannot succeed unless countless others are involved. This awareness gives rise to a sense of humility about our limitations and patience in the face of other imperfections. It also cultivates a sense of humor about our shortcomings and others. End quote. So this kind of reflection, this kind of realization, helps us to see the boundless grace that surrounds us. And when I say grace, I mean all of that which is freely given and all of what we have that is unmerited. So much. Just the simple act of breathing. What a gift. Just ask anyone who has asthma or COPD. And when was the last time you thanked your lungs for breathing and really felt grateful? So what I want to do, I want to close with the words of Shodo Harada. And he's the head abbot of Sogonji Temple in Japan. And it may sound familiar because we've incorporated this in our affirmations and in our prayers. And he's talking about this oneness, this interconnectedness that we all have in this world we live, in this web of life that we're integrally a part of. Quote, we live a life immersed in grace. The grace of being supported by all things at all times. We are supported by the solar system, by the sun that continually lights our world and drives the processes that help the earth to give us air to breathe, water to drink, and food to eat, that helps us to see. We are supported by the smallest things to the largest. We are supported by microbes and bees that help create the food we eat, and by all the trees that help us breathe. The bees give us grace every day. The trees give us grace. And there's also the grace given to us by our ancestors down through a long passage of time. So much grace given that is still within us now. We are all interdependent and existent in the very moment. In the midst of our diversity and interdependence, we can come to direct realization of oneness. By doing so, we can communicate our respect and gratitude for them, for all of life, for all the gifts which in oneness we have received and which are unmerited. End quote. So how do we do this? We want to incorporate, we want to make gratitude practice as part of our daily practice. I practice a chant that I do, and it's a really simple chant. And a lot of times when I'm hiking, and I'm noticing the beauty of Mother Earth Bodhisattva, I simply chant, thank you. I'll give you your money later. Simply chant, thank you, 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 thank you. It's about awareness. It's about seeing all those things in your life that give you life. It's about awareness, about opening our hearts. It's also about receiving. And I think that's a hard part, and that's another part of another Dharma talk, is this difficulty we have so much to receive a gift. We're so trapped in having to earn things that when we receive a gift, we think there's ulterior motives, and we're looking for them. Just receive. Receive joyfully. One of the reasons why I added some of Harada's lines into our affirmations and prayers is because it's a gratitude chant. Namo Amitabhaya, Buddhaya, Dharmaya, Sanghaya. It's this really deep gratitude. This deep gratitude. For years, being a love poet, I thought love was the highest expression of existence. And then I experienced the profound boundlessness of deep gratitude. And it was even more powerful and transformative than what I thought love was. And it becomes this part of our awareness. Joy follows gratitude. Abundance follows gratitude. As we start to practice our gratitude, as we start to become aware of it, we see that our lives are sustained within the web of life and the web of relationships. And this oneness and this interconnectedness of all things. Mark Uno, the son of Tatsetsu Uno, who wrote River of Fire and River of Water, and is the reason why the Sangha even exists, the fellowship even exists, he says that we chant Namo Amida Butsu as our desire to express, at a deeper level, our profound appreciation for the myriad of people and things that support us every day, especially our shared suffering in life and death, and our mutual illumination in our beautiful and profound foolishness, and our compassion, our oneness in the path. May we all follow the admonition of the Buddha and train ourselves in gratitude. Namo Amida Butsu.